Hi everybody, Bearded Rogue here, and we're continuing on with our series of Tony Unpacks in Oregon. This time we have box 16 here. Last video was pretty long. This one has a lot of smaller games in it, so I'm going to try to get to it to keep it shorter, and we'll go from there. So, I brought up the Universe series of games in the last box video. Sylveon is another in that series. I knew I would find the others sooner or later. This is probably my favorite. My absolute favorite game in the series. It's a tower defense game. You're all working together to protect the forest and the dream world from a hungry fire spirit. And I say you all, it's a 1 to 2 player game. It plays really well with one player. It actually plays it's actually, of the Universe games, the one that plays the best with 2-player. It's really neat in that one player pays the costs for the other player. So while you're trying to get the best stuff out on the field, you're also trying not to bankrupt and eliminate all of the cards that your partner has in their hand, so that they have something they can do on their turn. It's a really solid game. I highly recommend it, much like the rest of the Universe series, and it's probably my favorite of the bunch, Sylveon. Next, I have a very light game here. Roll for It. This is the special Gen Con Deluxe Edition that came out the year it was released. This one's Calliope Games, the same people who did Suro. This is a gateway game like par excellence. It's really light. It uses standard D6s, a component that everybody's familiar with. You roll the d6s to try to complete cards in the center of the table that require a certain numbers to complete. They give you points. Once you get a certain number of points, you win the game. Like, it's a game that I can play with literally anyone. Like, if you're familiar with how dice work, this is a game that you can play. And that makes it really convenient as a fun little filler. I got the super fancy Gen Con version just as a slight upgrade, and this one actually contains, there are 2 versions of Roll for It, red and purple. This one contains both, however they're silver and gold because they're the deluxe edition, but both of them fit in this tin. Really good game. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something you can play with basically anyone that has dice. Next is another little tiny game, Noir of Indians. This is level 99. It's set in their BattleCon universe. It's a re-theme of their game Noir, which was in their small box games library that I showcased in an earlier video. Same game, a few slightly updated gameplay scenarios, but using the characters from the Indians universe. So it's just kind of a neat little thing to have. Next is Dungeon Roll. We seem to be getting all of my dice games out of the way. This is the special Kickstarter Mimic Box edition of Dungeon Roll. This is a Tasty Minstrel Games. It has custom dice. It's a pressure luck game of you delving into a dungeon with your hero, trying to get as far as you can and score points, and everybody else is trying to do the same. I think it plays best with 2 players, one playing as the dungeon and one playing as the hero. You can actually play 4 players of this with 2 copies of the game, and there's no downtime because you're either the dungeon or the hero, depending on scenario. So there is an advantage to me having the Mimic box and then also getting the standard edition of the game with the regular treasure chest. I haven't done that yet. It's not a game that gets played as much because it is a light little filler game. It does play really well solo, though. You don't need somebody playing the dungeon. The dungeon player is basically just rolling dice, and you can do that yourself if you want to. So that's Dungeon Roll. Continuing the dice game theme, this is Back to the Future Out of Time. This is a game from Daryl Andrews. It's Back to the Future themed. It's a pressure luck game. It plays a lot like a lot of other pressure luck games, with the exception that you benefit from paying attention on other people's turns, because you can piggyback on what they're doing, which is always good in a dice game where one person's primarily the one interacting with the components. Everybody else needing a reason to pay attention and being able to actually gain benefits on other people's turns is cool. It's a quick little game from IDW. It just recently came out, and I picked it up at Gen Con, so the edition that they had at Gen Con, they hadn't polished the dice yet, so mine are these limited edition smoky dice instead of completely translucent clear dice. But yeah, out of time. Back to the Future dice game. I think that's it for dice games for a while, so we're going to go into other things. Card games. So this is Masks. This is a game that was Fantasy Flight. Now Cool Mini or Not has released a new edition of this game. I highly recommend it. It is a game in which you draft cards from all of the players' factions. Basically, you mix all of the cards together plus a neutral faction, and then you draft them. And then you play them to try and score points. And you basically have the decision as you're drafting of, do I want to grab the ones that are very powerful from my faction so that I know where they go? Do I want to draft the powerful ones from other people's factions so that I can kind of throw them off in places where they're wasted? Do I want to just kind of, focus on getting neutral blocker cards? There's all sorts of considerations in the draft, but the whole idea that you draft and then you play is one that I really, really like, and I really enjoy this game. I'm glad that Cool Mini or Not picked it up so that it stays in print. I think it's definitely worth your time. It could easily be rethemed as a Game of Thrones card game, which I'm shocked that Fantasy Flight didn't do. Maybe it wasn't allowed in their contract, but I could totally see the different factions in this being the royal houses in Westeros, and neutral characters like Varys and Littlefinger and stuff filling out the neutral houses. But, oh well, missed opportunity. As it is, it's still a fantastic game. And that's Masks. I think it was also called Incognito at one point, but Incognito, of course, is a different game as well. Not one that I'm going to showcase because I haven't owned it, but just be aware of that. There are other names for Masks out there. Next is probably one of my favorite deduction games, and this is Dead Drop. This is also from the sadly no longer with us Crash Games. It was designed by JCM Qatarski, who is the man behind Green Couch Games. And as you know, if you know Green Couch Games, Jason knows small games. This is a small game. It is a micro game. It is a micro deduction game. And it holds the unique distinction of not just... You don't just have to know what the missing card is. You have to then manipulate the cards that are in play so that you have cards in your hand that add up to that missing card. So you may be the first to figure it out, but then you have to go through the table manipulation to get what you need in your hand so that you can actually declare it. Or, you may be late in figuring out what it is, but have exactly what you need the second you know what it is. And so it kind of evens out player skill level a lot in that regard as far as the deduction piece goes. But really solid game. The Crash Kickstarter version came with this cool sleeve, and then there's a whole bunch of different versions of it, different artwork that's inside of here, and all of them are great artists. All of them are very unique themes. There's one that's like kids, little kids treehouse type theme. There's secret agents. There's like G.I. Joe-esque characters. They're all different and all neat, but they play the same way, and they're all good, and that's Dead Drop. Next, let's see. Man, we've got a lot of small games in this one. Another Crash Games game, Yardmaster. Yardmaster is a neat little card game that I call much better Uno. Again, like Uno, you can play it with nearly anybody, but it has a lot more strategy and thought behind it than Uno, and I prefer it. I also really love the art style that Crash Games chose for this one. As you can see, it's got these bold primary and secondary colors, and the very silhouette, basic artwork that really stands out and pops on the table. I really like this one. It's a really fun game. If you like card games that you can play with pretty much anybody, this is a good one. Highly recommended if you can get a copy, and that's Yardmaster. Next, Belle of the Ball. This is the game that put Daniel Solis's name on the map for me. Dice Hate Me Games put it out, and there was an article that Daniel wrote about wabi-sabi design, basically just playing the game and slightly tweaking it to get it to feel better. And it was the first time I'd seen somebody use an approach that wasn't entirely math-based and spreadsheets, and, you know, sometimes the math doesn't make for an elegant game. And this was the game that he was working on at the time that he wrote that article. It has some of the most hilarious names for characters ever, and the rules insist that you read them aloud, and that alone can be a very entertaining time, even outside of the rules of the game, which it is a very fun game and keeps that light attitude throughout. I really like it. It's 2 to 5 players, and it's a pretty good time. Belle of the Ball. Oh, it's also got some of the most amazingly inclusive artwork I have ever seen in a game. I'm not sure who the artist is. I want to say someone, but I don't want to be wrong, so let me look real quick if I can find the art credits. Yes, it is. It's Jackie Davis. Jackie Davis, I think this may have been the first game that she did. She's also since done Fidelitas and several other things. I absolutely love her artwork. It has a Disney quality to it that really lends a softness to everything, and it's ultra inclusive. Like, there's people of every skin color, with every hairstyle, with totally ridiculous names. It's very, very representational of an actual world, which is pretty cool to see that many different people in one place on the table. So, Belle of the Ball. Here's another JCM Qatarski design, Great Heartland Hauling Company. Again, it's a small game. It's the smallest pick-up and deliver game I own. JCM Qatarski really knows small games, both as a publisher and as a designer, and this is a really good one. This goes out of print periodically, sells out completely. I recommend that you get a copy. There is a 5th player expansion that you can get that runs around sometimes, but normally it's 2 to 4. I really love this one. It delivers all of the fun of a pick up and deliver game in a very short amount of time with a very small amount of table space. Yeah, it's a great game. Jason really knows how to do small games, and Dice Hate Me did a really good job with this one. It has cute little semi-truck meeples too, which if you don't like semi-truck meeples, you may be heartless, I think. Next, let's see. More Daniel Solis. This time is Kodama from Action Phase. This is an update of his Smart Play game Kigi that was run through the Action Phase development ringer. It's gorgeous. It's unique. It's a tile-laying game using cards, but it's not played to a grid. The cards can be played at all sorts of various angles. It produces really gorgeous little trees at the end of the game, and always feels satisfying even when you lose. You have a gorgeous little tree in front of you that you created, and yeah, Kodama. This is a really good game. I recommend this one definitely, especially if you like tile-laying games or if you like games where you build something over the course of the game. Another social deduction game, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. This game, I won't say replaced the Resistance for me, but gets played a lot more than the Resistance now because it plays so much faster. And because every time I play this, people want to play it over and over and over and over again. I've had game nights that have devolved into nothing but endless repetitions of One Night Ultimate Werewolf. As such, I'm resistant to bring this one out if I think that is the case, and there are other games that I have that I want to play. But it's a fantastic game. It's probably the best social deduction game out there, especially speed-wise. If you're looking for something you can play between games or with a bunch of players, it plays up to 10 players with just the base box. There's an expansion for it, the Daybreak expansion, which adds a whole bunch of new roles that are slightly more complicated. If you're looking for that, there's also other games in the series, One Night Ultimate Vampire, I think One Night Ultimate Alien is coming out soon. They all do slightly different things and have a little bit more or less complexity depending on what they are, but they play off the same basic scheme. So if you've played one, you'll be able to jump right in on another with a very slight rules explanation. There's also a really good app that will act as the moderator in this. If you don't want to do it yourself, you can just turn the app on and have it do it. It'll even play sound effects over the part where everybody's eyes are closed so that it can reduce table noise, and unless you bump somebody directly, you may not... it'll enhance everybody actually not knowing who everybody is. But yeah, good game. Next, there's an entire genre of game that is the pitch game type genre. Bad Medicine is probably my favorite. This is from Gil Hova at Formal Ferret Games. And is actually the first game of Gil's that I ever played. My introduction to him was walking into Unpub and him saying, "Hey, you want to play a game?" Within 5 minutes of me entering the hall, I sat down and played this and laughed for the next, hour and a half. The most clever part of this game, it's your pharmaceutical company's developing drugs, and so each card has 3 parts. It has the syllables that make up the name of the drug, the way that it treats whatever the problem is, and then its side effects. The most clever part is that the side effects of whatever you just finished become what you're treating in the next round. That was just so darkly humorous and funny that it really hit me. I really like this game. I love playing this game with new groups of people. Just to see what people come up with, and the fact that it's a pitch game and you're pitching your drug and why it works ends up with some of the most hilarious explanations ever, because it's amazing how little people actually understand about medicine. Sometimes you can get some really detailed, amazing things. Others are really bizarre. But Bad Medicine, good game. Next, Yardmaster Express. Yardmaster Express has since been re-released as Backyard Builder's Treehouse. Unfortunately, it is a Crash Games title, so it's harder to get a hold of. This one is associated with Yardmaster, but it's not an expansion for Yardmaster. It's not the same game as Yardmaster. Yardmaster is a card game. This is a drafting game, which is also technically a card game, but Yardmaster plays more like a traditional card game, set collection and all of that. This is a drafting game where you are over time building your train, and then there are some secret goals that give you points based on what you matched and what your train is composed of. But it's a very micro drafting game. Really good game. Didn't get as much press when it came out as it probably should have. The Backyard Builders Treehouse Edition is gorgeous. I think Vincent Dutrait did the artwork for it. If you can get a copy of this or its re-release, I highly recommend it. Really, really good game. Yardmaster Express, Backyard Builders Treehouse, whichever way you can find it. So a couple of boxes ago, I talked about a game that I said everybody should own called Seven Wonders. This is the 2-player version of that game, Seven Wonders Duel. I hate Seven Wonders 2-player. The dummy player just does not work for me. I know there are some people who think it's just fine. I am not one of those people. I will not play Seven Wonders 2-player and strictly believe that inside the rulebook for Seven Wonders, when they reprint it from now on, it should just say in the 2-player rules count instead of multiple pages on how it varies from the regular game. It should just say, go play Seven Wonders Duel instead. That should be the only sentence there. Just go play Seven Wonders Duel instead. This is a really good game. They found a way to make a draft in 2-player that still feels like a draft. It's a table draft rather than passing around hands of cards like Seven Wonders. But by creating these elaborate constructs, these layouts and patterns of cards, there's still hidden information from both players until it's revealed that can lead to some surprises over the course of play. Anybody who's played Seven Wonders will be very familiar with a lot of the iconography in this game, which makes learning it faster. Yeah, it's a really good game. Play this instead of Seven Wonders if you're playing 2 players. I'll say that flat out. Great game. It's got an expansion. I haven't played the expansion yet. Heard good things. Hope to get it sooner or later. Next, just taking all of the other things out of here that were packing material. Diamonds. I like trick-taking games. I love trick-taking games. Diamonds is a trick-taking game. It's a fairly, I won't say... Basic seems like an insult, but it's not. It's a trick-taking game that's much closer to traditional trick-taking games. That's what I'll say. It feels at home with spades and hearts. It has a gorgeous deck of cards in it that are foil and super embossed and fancy. And the trick in this one, pardon the pun, is that each suit has its own special ability. So anytime you play off suit or anytime you win a trick with a particular suit, you get to take that ability. You win the game based on how many diamonds you've collected at the end of the game. They can either be in your vault or in front of your vault. And in front of your vault is not safe. In your vault is safe. So you're kind of dealing with that. Collecting diamonds, stealing them from other players, putting them in your vault, and collecting points, and whoever has the most points wins. You play multiple hands. Like I said, if you've played trick-taking games like Spades or Hearts, or even Euchre, this will not seem out of place amongst them. I know some people prefer it, some people don't like it because it's too similar. It just kind of... Play it. If you're at all interested in trick-taking games, play it and see if you like it. I personally do. Next, game called Nanobot Battle Arena. Nanobot Battle Arena is a tile-laying game. You play it in a petri dish. Each one of you plays a different faction of nanobots with their own special abilities, and you will build a chain of your guys across the board, trying to have the most at the end of the game. You'll be destroying each other's stuff, you'll be protecting your own stuff, you'll be spinning and rotating the tiles to change which direction players can place their tiles. It's a really fun little game, really clever. There's one faction that me and my friends feel is underpowered, which is like the blue cryo faction. We actually pull them out of the box and don't play with them. Yeah, the Kronos faction. Here it is, this blue faction. We don't play with them just because we feel that their power is weak, but everything else in the box is fantastic. Really good game. If you like little tile-laying games that play pretty quickly. It's from Derpy Games. I don't know if they've ever done anything else, but this one's quality. It's a really good game. Nanobot Battle Arena. So we're getting down to the last of it. I'm going to do the next two at the same time. Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert. Pandemic is one of the games that really got me into the hobby. These are kind of like Pandemic Light and the the interesting cousin of Pandemic. They're both Matt Leacock games, same designer as Pandemic. They're in a tin, which is really my only complaint, although it's a high-quality tin. The components on these are amazing, especially for the price that you pay. They are very cheap compared to the quality of the components that are in them. I think they were manufactured at very high quantity, and with good reason. They're both fantastic games. This one is kind of like my first cooperative game, and I think it's still fun for new players, as well as, you know, more hardened gamers. This is a game you can play with a whole family, and everybody will be able to play, everybody will be able to contribute, and you'll have a lot of fun. This one is a little bit heavier. I actually prefer it to Forbidden Island, just because it is more different from Pandemic than Forbidden Island is. Forbidden Island is kind of like Pandemic Light. Forbidden Desert is its own animal. It shares some mechanisms and some ways of doing things with Pandemic, but it's very much its own thing, and so I prefer this one to Forbidden Island, but both are fantastic games, and they both stayed in my collection. Next is Lagoon. I haven't played this yet. I got it in a trade right before I left. Looking forward to playing this one. It looks very heavy combo-y and tile placement type game. I've heard lots of great things. Cannot wait to try it. Lagoon. Next is Viceroy. This was originally a Russian game from Hobby World in Russia. It was brought over here by Mayday. And there was a big buzz around about this around the Gen Con that it came out at. It's since kind of fallen off the radar for a lot of people. I know that there's some people out there who are still playing it. It's a very neat game in which you're building this pyramid of people, and all of the people give you different abilities depending on where they're at in your pyramid, and you use those abilities to gain points. And it's got this neat little auction mechanic where there are 4 colors of chips. Red, green, yellow, and blue, and when you're auctioning, you choose which card you want based on which color, and then if there are conflicts, then everybody who was in the conflict will have to auction again. Anybody who didn't have a conflict just gets what they want. If you can't resolve it, then nobody gets it. There is a problem in the game. Potentially, some of the cards are a little bit unbalanced, and it's really easy to basically hoard all of one color if you really want to. Which can lead to some kind of degenerate play states where other people just cannot bid on that auction. You're the only person who can, and so you always do, because the resources are finite. So, yeah, it's a pretty good game. I kept it, obviously, so I think it's pretty good. I'm going to have to give it a few more plays before I decide if it stays in my collection permanently, but right now it's got a secure spot, and it came with me here to Oregon. And then last but not least is a game that is currently on Kickstarter that I actually did a video for, and that I absolutely love, and that's Battle for Bateria. I was sent a copy of this game from the publisher, Stone Circle, and lost it at BGG-Con and promptly purchased my own copy because I did not want to be without this game. That is how much I love this game. It's doing pretty well on Kickstarter. I don't know if it's funded just yet, but I really hope it does, because it's a fantastic game. It pushes all of my happy buttons. It's tactical, it's strategic, it's got simultaneous turn reveal, it simulates a MOBA, it's got gorgeous pixel art. Yeah, it's right up my alley, and I'm so glad that I have a copy, and really can't wait for the published version to make its way to me, because that's going to be even better. And that's it for this box. Box 16. So, looks like these videos are trending a little longer because there are more games in each box because we're getting to my smaller games. So, we'll start working our way through them, and I apologize if they're getting... if they keep getting longer as we get to smaller and smaller games. But that's it for me. Bearded Rogue, out.